Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Mystics Outlook. We got Cardo Dudley Jr. here, Raymond Lyons, Wilson Tarpe Jr. Get straight to it. The Lynx hold off the Mystics 74-67. Saw Washington get off to a bit of a slow start. The last go round, Cardona was talking about how they kind of struggled to really show the fight they've been showing all season. In the previous game, that wasn't the case in this one. We saw them storm back into this game, even take a 7-point lead at one time. But then, some of those fourth quarter issues we've talked about several times throughout this year reared their ugly head. That was kind of the case in the fourth quarter where, almost outside of first quarter in the whole second and third quarter right there. Second quarter, they held the Lynx to 11 points.
Right.
And then, the fourth quarter when execution is paramount, again, it's something we've been talking about quite a bit. But Ray, want to get your thoughts and then Cardell on tonight's game.
They pretty much lost this game on the offensive glass and the turnover battle. Those two things were crucial. The Lynx, the way they took advantage of their second chance points opportunities, and the Mystics sloppy ball handling at times. That was the separation. Like we see, it's a 7-point game on top of, and that was just because of some free throws at the end. Mystics clean up a couple mistakes. And they're right there. So it's just the little things with them, man. As we've been talking about the entire season. Yeah, man, it's tough. It is good to see them, be resilient, but at this level, that's just not enough. They got to execute. And they gotta perform. It was good to see. Maisha get aggressive when she was able to get the ball in the block. That opened up some things. She was able to score in a couple baskets. And when they doubled and kind of collapsed, she found Ariel for a couple shots. So yeah, man. But it's really not what they do well. It's where they struggle that tells the tale how these games are going to go. If they rebound and take care of the ball, 9 times out of 10 they win. And if they don't, we get what we got tonight. And for a lot of games this season, they've either got dominated on the glass and they haven't taken care of the basketball. Offensively, shooting wise, I should say it's not. They're pretty solid, but those times when they're having careless turnovers and the offense is kind of disjointed, it bites them. We always talk about their small margin of error. That thing is razor thin, and if any of those areas where they struggle, they can't even kind of tread water, then it's not going to go well for them. Julie Van Loo, she's got to get more consistent with her shooting. She had a good shooting night a couple days ago, but tonight she couldn't throw a rock in the ocean, and that hurt them. But yeah, it's again, we know where they are with the injury situation. That is what it is. You gotta go to war with who you got. That's never going to be an excuse. You bring the people you got on the floor, you line them up, and you take care of business. And they just haven't been doing that for the majority of the season.
Cardell.
Yeah, turnovers, being outplayed thoroughly in the backcourt, and going ice cold in the fourth quarter. It's tough, winnable game on the road, but the fourth quarter, the anemic shooting just obviously did a man. They shot 4 for 17 in the fourth quarter. You're not going to win on the road. You're not going to win anywhere, home or road, on the road, shooting like that, especially in the fourth quarter of a close game where you need to execute and find ways to score the ball and be efficient scoring the ball. Let's be honest, Shatori carried them in the first half, and that's the reason why they bounced back, because the Lynx looked like they was going to end this early in the first quarter. And Shatori came in, continued her strong play over the last few games, and next thing you know, they're tied at the half. Great. Third quarter, they up by 2. Then the fourth quarter begins, and it's like clockwork in the fourth quarter. Normally it's later in the fourth quarter, but this time it was just throughout the fourth quarter. The same issues: turnovers, defensive breakdowns, can't score the ball. and a team without their best player, you help them beat you. Like, let's be with shooting 4 for 17 in the fourth quarter, you lost by 7. So you just make 3 more baskets, man. You still not shooting well. If you make 3 more baskets, it could possibly be a different game. You know what I'm saying? And get a couple more stops, and then you win. It's just as simple as that. I agree with what Ray said. Julie, you can't go 0 for. You just can't. You can't have more turnovers than you do baskets. It's just, as a point guard, you just can't. But then on the other hand, Courtney Williams give you 17. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's game right there. That's tough to overcome. Luckily, the Mystics bench between Aaliyah Edwards, who had a solid night, and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, they combined for 25 points. So they basically, those two outplayed the Lynx bench by themselves. So that made up for the difference with the dominance of the Lynx backcourt production compared to the Mystics backcourt production outside Ariel Atkins. I'm talking about the starting backcourt production. So, it's the same issues, man. And they're severely running out of time if they haven't ran out already, where the season's about to be lost, because it's going to be hard to make up 12 games, man. It's just going to be hard to make up that gap. Like I said, luckily for them, they're not out of it. The AFC is probably about 3 or 4 games up on them. But they got to correct these things, and these issues aren't going away. And that's what makes it where it's like, is at that point where, you are what your record says you are. Because I don't see any improvement in the negatives in their game that has been plaguing them throughout the season. Turnovers and fourth quarter execution offensively, that's been there from day one. You see what I'm saying? So at this point, it's like, what can you do? I mean, if you haven't corrected it by now, why should there be much faith that you will correct it? You know what I mean? And even, with Brittany Sykes and Shakira coming back, of course it helps. But will the morale of the team allow them to believe and pull themselves out this hole? Time will tell.
Yeah, like, just to echo what you guys said, that margin of error is so freaking thin. You couldn't afford 7 extra possessions in this game. Cardell, to your point, the way they were shooting, their lack of execution offensively. Ray, you talked about the offensive rebounds. They got out rebounded 13-6 on offensive glass. Minnesota ended up getting 10 more shots than them. They only made 2 more shots than them, but they had 10 more opportunities. It's huge. It's huge. They literally just, Cardell, you talked about the difference in the backcourt, the starting backcourt. If the bench doesn't do what they do, at halftime, it looks crazy at halftime. And again, credit to the bench, because many times this season, the bench has stepped up and kept them in games, or done more than just give them a jolt. They've kind of like given them life at times in several games this season. And then they just failed to execute at the end. But just want to give credit to the bench. And Cardell, you brought up Shatori being consistent. She was using that in that second quarter for them. Almost all her production came in the first half for the most part. And they needed every bit of it at that time. But yeah, man, you can't keep falling apart in different ways in that fourth quarter. Every time they get into a fourth quarter, I think, Cardell, you brought it up like maybe 8 games in, where they were in the league. And I'm pretty sure I don't need to go look at it. But it's the first thing that pops in my head every time, is at that time, and we're talking about like maybe like 8 games ago at that time when you mentioned it, they were one of the worst teams in the league in terms of offensive rating in the fourth quarter, which that's winning time, man. You can't be bad at that moment and win games, man. It's just too much to overcome. But as always, got to ask you guys who you have for player of the game.
Oh, man. Courtney Williams. I love all around impact. 17, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 7 to 16. I love the way, like, as she's in the second half of her career, how she's progressed as a true all-around point guard. In her younger days, she was about a bucket. In Connecticut days, she can come in there on a heater and it can get ugly quick. She can put points on the board. But now, She takes her time. She's poised. She picks and chooses her spots, and she's playing some of the best basketball of her career because it's an all-around impact. She's proven to be more than a scorer, and she was devastated. She controlled the game for the most part, especially when it became wintertime in the fourth quarter. She gave you her scoring, 6 rebounds. Man, she probably one of, if not the smallest player on the floor. Hey man, it's just it's just unacceptable at that point, man. You know what I'm saying? It's the little things, and that's the little things keep being the Mystics. So for me, it's definitely Courtney.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. For the reasons Cardell pointed out, I mean, she touched the game in a lot of areas, and it showed up. Especially coming down the stretch, when things got a little rocky for Minnesota, she reverted back to to her natural self and put the ball in the basket when it needed to be. And then, once things got a little settled, she just ran the offense and controlled the game. So that was that was the difference, because even with the Mystics' poor shooting in the fourth, at times Minnesota came down with a equally as sloppy possession, or it wasn't as disciplined as they could have been. But then the ball found Courtney, and she did her thing.
On the X Factor.
Yeah, you definitely got, for me, Kayla. She always brings it defensively, but her 17 points on 6 to 12. Especially with no fees, they needed somebody else to kind of, match Courtney with it's going, because we know she's gonna put the ball in the hole, and McBride was that, and that's why I said their backcourt was the main factor and why they won, because they thoroughly outplayed the Mystics starting backcourt, and it wasn't just man Lou like D. Richards, awful. Obviously I'm not the coach, but Tori might need to get in that starting lineup, man, especially with the way she's playing. They got to do something, because you can't have just honestly Atkins and that's it, consistently being on the perimeter that can make something happen. It's tough. It's tough in this league. So, and they're going to start ganging up on her eventually. And they just be like, hey, y'all, we dare y'all to shoot. Y'all going to have to hit some shots for us to change up, and it's going to be tough. But the way Shatori's playing, you got to mix it up, because the season's about to go away. But, yeah, Kayla, for sure, she showed up.
Right.
Yeah, Minnesota's backcourt carried them. And, Courtney, she did a lot of the heavy lifting, but Kayla definitely assisted and joined the party. Her down the stretch as well. And we all know the type of shooter she is. But her impact defensively and her timely shot making definitely paid dividends for the Lynx tonight.
Yeah, I have no argument there at all. I also thought just the job Kayla did defensively, kind of slowing Shatori down, because Washington definitely missed Shatori's impact as that game went on. Minnesota clearly made it a point to put that fire out. And as you mentioned, Cardell, where it turns into kind of loading up on taking counting for Ariel, counting for Tori. Maisha got some things going, but for other folks on the court going over, you dare them to do it. You dare them to do it. It cost them late. And Minnesota, again, continues to do what they're doing. Being one of the better teams and the best teams in the league. And for Washington, get a couple days to get yourself together. I think up next is the last game on their road trip is the Fever. And then they return home to play the Aces. So again, the WNBA schedule is not for the week. We'll see how they go. See if they can bounce back. Next week we'll catch up with y'all then. Enjoy the rest of y'all weekend.